Live and recording. Hey.
Hey.
I see you.
I can see you.
That's great. And we have 14 people in the room.
Nice.
Great.
Hello, everybody.
Great. Good to see you. Let me do the intro.
All right.
Oh, are you not hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
Sorry. Okay. All right.
I don't know if the monitor is where the camera is, but okay.
Testing. We are live, and Joshua is my technical assistant. Joshua, I don't know what you're seeing on the screen, but I'm seeing like half of me. Mm-hmm. Am I fully on the screen?
That's because you moved your monitor.
Okay, right. Okay, now I'm fully on the screen. And Deondray, we're seeing like 3/4 of you.
Okay.
Yes, but we're not seeing.
Oh.
There you go. Okay. You may have to be unusually intimate with one another during this period because we have three. The screen is divided into 3 parts. Okay. Deondray, Quincy, welcome. Viewers, welcome. This is our Kickstarter live event. I have a couple of announcements to make before we get to the conversational part. 2 big announcements are that we are, we're at 80% of our goal to, we raised almost $8,000. We have 3 days left. And I'm highly optimistic that we're going to make this happen. We also have a $500 matching grant that goes into effect as of now. So any pledge that we get is going to be doubled. So yes. So those are the big announcements. I'm going to be reminding people about those during the course of our conversation. Also, we're being recorded, so we will, people will be able to access what we're doing today over the next 2 days from the Kickstarter site. Viewers, welcome. I'm going to kick things off by asking questions, but please type your questions in, and I will read them, and we'll have either I or Deondray and Quincy answer them. Let's start with the introductions. So Deondray and Quincy, you want to start, please?
Sure. I'm about to say I'm Quincy. Deondray Gossfield.
Quincy Gossfield.
And we are the creators of the Dio Chronicles and Chadwick Journals. Coming on to Congo Cabaret as directors.
Right, but you have extensive experience as directors. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Yeah. So well, we began directing in gosh, I can't even remember the year now. Probably like 2001. You know, we have a background in acting. Actors, we met as actors, and we both were feeling a lack of representation in the type of roles and images that we wanted to see about African Americans on the screen. And so, coincidentally, we both had background in production, and I come from an arts background, photography. So I've always dealt with the visual image photographs, which kind of naturally transitioned into cinematography and filmmaking. So we had both actually had similar backgrounds, but we were not, at the time, we weren't looking at ourselves as filmmakers. We were looking at ourselves as actors. And so we decided to make a short film. I think it was in 2000 or 1999, we did a short film. And just for ourselves, just to promote ourselves as actors in roles that we wanted to be in. And coincidentally, the short film won Best Experimental Short Film through Showtime.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So that was kind of the starting point for our careers as directors. And you know, everyone was like, you guys are really naturally talented at this. You've done it, you've worked in production for years, behind the scenes, in front of the camera. Like, this seems like something you guys should be doing. And so I think it was at that point that we began to consider filmmaking as a career option, as a path. And our second project that we did, which was an independent project very much like this, was the DL Chronicles. It was something that was a story that we hadn't seen before, something that we wanted to address. And
would you explain what DL stands for? Not everybody may know that.
DL is a slang term for closet, which is down low. Some people say, you know, we like to say double lives, but it was also current, you know, it used to be, I'm sorry, my talk is stop it. Yeah, so it was about men of color who lead double lives. We decided to address that topic because it was something at the time that was being explored in the media, and we thought it was being explored pretty one-sided, pretty inaccurately, and we did it ourselves. We didn't know that it would really, go as far as it did. We didn't know that it would, you know, it would end up being picked up by a television network. So, you know, our career completely made a sudden turn, and we were now showrunners on a cable network series. And the show went on to win many awards. It's been included in all types of textbooks. It's used as a teaching tool across the world, the University of Berlin.
This is the DL Chronicles, or
yeah.
Okay.
It's part of curriculums now, which is pretty amazing because that's not something that we set out to do. But I think we you know, as filmmakers, we have a passion for social awareness stories, stories that aren't being told, stories, you know, specifically from a men of color queer perspective as well, which is why this project was so attractive to us. And you know, we just want to continue to do work that not only entertains but also hopefully educates and hopefully has some type of positive impact or influence, you know, not just pure, you know, entertainment.
Right, right. I want to invite our listeners to type something in. There's a chat button at the lower right-hand part of your screen, so feel free to ask a question, make a comment. We'll share it with the others. And, you know, this is not just a conversation between me and the Gossfields, but with all of you. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Robert Philipson. I'm now the producer of Congo Cabaret. But I have been a producer-director of a number of films of Black LGBT interest, including one called Tain't Nobody's Business, Queer Blues Divas of the 1920s, which is one of our perks. Since I'm talking about it, let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, because this is a camera, it's going to be backwards, but oh, it's not. Well, great. When we were testing this earlier. Anyway, this is a DVD of the perk at the $100 level. It is about queer blues divas of the 1920s. So you have Alberta Hunter, Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, and Ethel Waters. And another who's much less well known, but who was much more out there, Gladys Bentley. So this is very much on the topic of our short, Congo Cabaret, because Congo Cabaret is built around a song that was written by Bessie Smith that acknowledges the presence of gays and lesbians in the Harlem Renaissance. Bessie Smith herself was bisexual, and that song is going to be performed in Congo Cabaret itself. The scenario is based on a novel by a prominent writer of that period, Claude McKay, who was originally from Jamaica but settled in the United States and made his name as a poet and then as a novelist. And his most successful novel was called Home to Harlem. And it has it's a very panoramic view of Harlem during the height of the Harlem Renaissance. And you do have some gay and lesbian characters in it, which reflected the fact that Claude McKay himself was gay. So he had kind of a special interest in not hiding that side of Harlem life. Claude McKay was a masculine gay man that went against the stereotypes of what people thought of as homosexuality in men. They associated it with cross-dressing and effeminacy, but they were masculine gay men, and the slang for them was wolves. This scene, Congo Cabaret, features a wolf who's actually the owner of Congo Cabaret, and once we get it made, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Anyway, just to finish my introduction and the introduction to the subject matter in general. So as I say, I'm the producer and will be the director of the larger project, because Congo Cabaret is going to be incorporated into a longer documentary about gays and lesbians in the Harlem Renaissance, to be called Mood Lavender. But the reason that we're raising money for this piece is because it's the most ambitious, the most expensive piece in the film, in the documentary. Which brings us to our first question from Joshua Burton, which is, this is obviously directed to the directors, so you know, either one of you or both of you answer it. What is your vision for Congo Cabaret?
Are you talking to us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're still working through that at the moment. What I'm really inspired by visually for the piece is the art of the Harlem Renaissance, which is something as a visual artist I've always been inspired by, you know, for years. I don't know if you can see this book. One of my favorite books right here. Harlem Renaissance, Art of Black America. That it was a period where Black art, music, literature had the opportunity to bloom, like right after the Civil War, during the war, when, you know, so many Blacks migrated from the South, escaping the constraints of the, you know, and all found each other in this place and had this, maybe one of the first times in our history being in this country, had an amount of freedom to actually create. You know, when I was reading more about it and thinking about it, was like, you know, first of all, we were enslaved, and most of us come from families of enslaved Africans, and that was not an environment for creativity other than the creativity that we made to survive. And so now you have all of these people coming from different areas in the South gathering in New York and Harlem, and this art just bloomed. You know, this freedom to express themselves, to express their angst, to express their sexuality. I'm sure there were like bigger things on people's minds than being concerned about creating art or expressing their sexuality in the racist South prior to the Civil War. So it's just this wonderful period where so much art just came about, which I think is why it's such a special period and remains such a important part of history.
Yes.
So definitely visually, the visual style that we're possibly going to consider going for is the Art Deco. I would say it's almost like Afro Art Deco, because it was this African influence that these artists brought to like this very European style. Even though we dressed in a very, I guess, Eurocentric fashion, there was always something about it that was twisted, that came from a very African American perspective. There was a style, there was a sense of style that was what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like it was like you're through it.
Yeah, it was like you
infused.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the word I'm looking for.
When you get a chance at some point, Quincy, can you find an Aaron Douglas print in your book and hold it up to the screen?
Yeah.
Because another one of the perks at what level is it? The dust cover for Congo Cabaret? Sorry, I don't have the list in front of me, but my trusty co-producer, who I'll be introducing later in the program, is going to tell me. The dust cover for Home to Harlem was designed by Aaron Douglas, who was a major artist, not only of the Harlem Renaissance, but of American art in general. So
that's $60.
at $60, you can get a restored poster of that dust cover. Quincy?
Which I don't know if you can see it. Let's see where the camera is.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, you can see his stylized version of the figures, and he was very much influenced by the art, by the prevailing artists of the period. So you already have some designs for sets and costumes, some ideas for sets and costumes along those lines.
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
You have some designs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For sure. One of the things that I really loved about his work was the bold shapes. He used very, very prominent shapes and forms, and something about it was so regal, and something about it was very, I would say, dancerly in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me really think of like Alvin Ailey shapes, when Alvin Ailey is, doing choreography, like the shapes that their dancers make. Like something about these paintings with these, these beautiful silhouettes of people of color, and they always seem to have their heads up, their chins up, this regalness, this royalty about it. And the fact that we are doing this segment of the documentary where it is a performance, I'm just really excited to work with the dancers, to work with the singer, to really make that scene pop in a way that almost brings one of those paintings to life.
Who asked that last question? We have another question coming in. Thank you, Quincy.
No problem.
This is for the Gossfields. As a couple that works together, how do you two complement each other when working on projects?
Oh, that's well, what tends to happen is we fall into this kind of duality where there may be certain parts of the piece that he's more attracted to. Typically when we work on our show, if he wrote it, he directs it, and I'm his second pair of eyes. I'm more or less on the producer side and vice versa. But when we're approaching stuff together as a unit, there may be parts of the piece that is more attractive to him than me. For example, for Congo Cabaret, I might be more inclined to do the performance piece, because that's my background is musical theater. So I would probably be more attracted to that. He might be more attracted to, like the art and style and feel of the actors and the performance part of the piece. So when he's doing that part, I might be worried about all of the rest. Like he might concentrate and hone in on the performances, the look, the style, the shot composition, and then I might be worried about craft services. That kind of thing. So,
I have somebody to share the producer's duties with.
Exactly. So that's basically what happens. We basically tag team, and so for performance part, I might be honing in on the sound. I mean, on the performance of it and the angles of it and shot composition. He may be worried about the sound and how is it coming through technically on camera and all of that stuff. So that's how we tend to work.
We also throw ideas back and forth to each other, like visual ideas especially, and the fact that we're doing a musical scene. We come to each other with ideas, with source materials that inspire us, images, musicals, music videos, old black and white film moments. We just kind of look through all of this stuff and find like bits and pieces of inspiration. Like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could do this and we could add this, and then I'll add in my 2 cents and he'll add in his 2 cents, and sometimes they don't match, and then sometimes they do, but we always come to a really great consensus. And I think he kind of keeps me a little grounded, because I can I can go through the roof in the stratosphere and we're not going to get that helicopter shot that you think we should.
Particularly on this budget.
Right.
Which allows me to say, another question has come in, and I'm going to go to that. But while we're on the subject of budget, we're trying to raise $10,000. We're pretty sure we're going to get it. We got 3 days to go and $2,000 left to raise. Anybody who pledges now, we have a $500 matching grant. So it'd be great if you could pledge. It's tax deductible. You can pledge for as little as much as you want. So, for the new people who are tuning in, please consider pledging. Some of you who've come in have already pledged, and I want to give a shout out to Robert Elcock, my co-producer. I'll be introducing him later. I know that one of the original backers, Stuart Sheldon, is also listening. Hope to hear from you soon, Stuart. And we have a question from Kyle Jordan once again for the directors. Kyle, thanks for coming on. What are some musical productions that you've been inspired by?
Oh, wow. Wow, so many. In regard to this,
you want to pull out the DVDs?
We don't have time for that.
Like the musical library that we have in the closet of like all of our favorite musical movies. Yeah, we do have a lot.
As far as, I mean, this is going to sound odd, but there's some musical moments in Moulin Rouge. And not as far as like, it's the textures is what I think I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get the energy of one of those, and I'm forgetting the big number. It's probably the tango, but I'm trying to get the energy of that scene. I'm trying to get the feel, like there was something so visceral about that movie. When you watched it, you felt like you were there in a way that I hadn't really felt in certain period piece movies, musicals. Mm-hmm. And when I watched Moulin Rouge, I was immediately like, I felt like something transcended from the screen to me that was just very real and touchable and tangible. And I kind of want to grab that energy somehow. I can't tell you, it wasn't necessarily costumes or the light. It wasn't anything in particular. It was the thing as a whole. And
I had that happen to me. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I had that happen to me too. And that was with Saturday Night Fever.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And you know what it was connected, what it was connecting with was disco was relatively new at that time, and it was just, and of course it spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
It spoke to me as a gay man, but also just the musicality, the beat, the excitement, the sexuality. As you said, it wasn't just the costumes or the staging. There was an electricity that leaped from the screen right into my chest. I was just, when I left the theater, I was just like walking on air. It was a remarkable experience.
Yes, exactly that. Yes.
Moulin Rouge was that movie for me that, you know, working in this industry for so many years, you have your ups and your downs, and you have your times where you're like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, what the hell am I doing? And we went, and I was in one of those periods where I was reconsidering everything. Even though this has been my life's passion, I was reconsidering. I was just fed up, and I wasn't inspired. And we went to see Moulin Rouge, and I know that movie was like 2 and something hours, 2 hours or more, and I did not want it to end. I literally did not want it to end. I was angry that the credits were rolling because I was so inspired and pulled into that film, and that the scene he's talking about was the Roxanne tango number, and the dancers, the precision of the dance, the costuming, the actors, the lighting, the cinematography, everything did come together so beautifully in that scene. I actually have a painting that was inspired by that Roxanne scene. But yeah, Moulin Rouge is, I would have to say, is one of my all-time favorite.
We have a comment from one of our listeners saying, "Yeah, Moulin Rouge inspired me to get into filmmaking."
Yeah.
You got something there.
It inspired us to keep going. Don't give up.
We have another question from. We got an amazing gift today. $1,000. We got $1,000 gift this morning.
Yay.
And I'm just going to mention her name, which is Alice. For some reason, she can't find the chat button, but she is texting me. So I promised I'd ask her a question.
Okay.
You know, especially since she's such a big donor. She asked, did the music and cabaret stage in Chicago have an influence on you?
That was going to be my next. That was going to be my next one.
Yes.
Again, not particularly anything in specific. It's just the energy, the drive, the force, the thing that you feel when you're watching it. You just kind of carry the movie, like kind of picks you up and carries you with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to recreate that energy somehow, because what's often missing to me. And I'm just going to be honest, in these period pieces, especially the ones that focus on the Harlem Renaissance, there seems to be a missing. The connection it feels away from you. I mean, in the stuff that I've watched, it's been great. There've been great pieces. There've been what's the moments in the Eddie Murphy comedy. And I'm forgetting the name of it right now. As far as Rage in Harlem, as far as Rage in Harlem, as far as the production design, I thought they really nailed it sometimes. But there was something. There's always this thing that's kind of it feels very studio. That's it. And I think sometimes I just want it. I want it raw, and I want it feel, and I want it real, and I want it to keep moving, and I want it to feel like, as stylized as it is, I want it to feel like an extension of the documentary. I want you to feel like you've been picked up and placed in that moment in time, and you're just kind of looking around like, whoa, like this is cool.
Okay, so let me follow up with another question that came from a viewer, and it's about the song. But before I ask the question, I want to point out that one of the rewards is going to be an MP3 of the song that will be recorded in Congo Cabaret. And the song that we've chosen that's in the script, and this is from Crum Jones, is what songs are you going to be reproducing for this project? He says he's always looking for gay anthems. And then Kendall asked, why was this specific song chosen for this? And so let me answer that first question, and then I'm going to hand it off to you because so the song was referenced in the book Home to Harlem. It was just referenced for the lyrics because it's a book. It's not. I mean, the wonderful thing about movies is that you can reproduce a performance. Lyrics on the page are, like poems. They're lyrics on the page. But the song is called Foolish Man Blues. It was written by Bessie Smith, and it's a classic blues form. And there are 3 verses. One of them specifically references the common view of the time of gay men and lesbians. It's a humorous song, so it makes reference to mannish acting women and twisting, skimming, whooping acting man. But Bessie Smith delivers a song with great panache and verve. And but as I said before, the song, they're gays and lesbians were in the Harlem Renaissance. So the focus wasn't solely on them, just as the focus of the song is not solely on them. The blues was a remarkable musical genre in that it actually spoke about sexuality in very frank terms, which didn't happen anywhere else in American culture, and included references to alternative sexuality, which is also something that happened nowhere else in American culture. So that's why we chose the song. Now, the question that I have for you guys is, you've listened to the song, you're going to have to recreate it and reinterpret it. What are your thoughts about choosing an artist, instrumentation, staying true to the period, and how do you see that?
Well, there's a couple images come to mind. There are some images that I really liked in moments in Lady Sings the Blues, where Diana Ross is in this very smoke-filled, underground Harlem-esque looking nightclub, and what I really want for the lead singer to have is a presence. I mean, before she even opens her mouth, there has to be something about her that makes you go, ooh, as soon as she steps out, oh wow, before she even opens her mouth. And that can be done in numerous ways, a combination of all kinds of things. It can be the actor herself, it can be the singer herself, it can be the wardrobe, it can be the lighting, it can be the surrounding air. Whatever it is, we have to know somebody's in the house. Like, oh, and I want that immediate kind of feeling, not just from the viewer, but from inside the scene, from the people in the room. She has to be something that's reckoned with. So when she opens her mouth, we listen. And so that's really important to me, that be personified in the person that we use, and as well as how stage it and production design kind of accents that person. Other than that, I think it's really, again, I just really want it to be very visceral. I want it to feel like you're a fly on the wall in a moment in time. Because I think it's a documentary. I think what we're trying to get people to understand is that these people lived and they breathed, and there was a movement that was started with them that is often not told. There's an LGBT people of color in that era made huge strides for gay rights at that moment in time that we often don't talk about. Harlem Renaissance is such this big tapestry of events and art and culture, and we kind of always tend to skirt by the LGBT experience and contribution to that. So I really want it to be a moment in time where for a second we take center stage. And we by LGBT people, and also that we were not just bystanders in the movement. We were actually shaping the movement. We were there. We were driving. I want the people in that moment to have to be reckoned with. and clearly a part of the entire movement.
Okay, that brings me to another question. Once again, I'm encouraging viewers to chat. Doesn't have to be a question. You can make a statement, tell you how, contribute to the conversation. I'll read comments as they come up and as they're appropriate. One of the questions is are you looking for local artists to work with for this production, and is there a focus on including gay people?
Yes. Again, well, we actually already we have someone who's attached to the project, Daryl Stevens from Noah's Ark, who's the lead in Noah's Ark. He is openly gay, well-known, openly gay African-American actor. So we definitely have Daryl is down for the project. We're still casting as we speak. So we want to cast everyone. We definitely want to represent. We have to represent, but we also want to find the best actors, singers, performers that we possibly can. So we're probably going to throw out a broad net, but we have quite a few people of the LGBTQ community who we are considering and hopefully will be a part of this project.
Great, great. And let me say that given the ambitions, and especially what you're describing, Moulin Rouge, Lady Sings the Blues, you're going to have to work some amazing miracles on a minuscule budget. $10,000 is not very much money. Do you think you can do it?
Yes.
Well, lucky for us, we've been doing this so long that we have lots of good relationships. I hope we do. That's the assumption. We have lots of good relationships with performers that we could reach out. Not just performers, but even down to crew that we could reach out to say, hey, we really have this great idea, this great project that's fallen into our laps. Would you come on and assist us and help us make this, bring this to life? And I think a lot of our amazing people that we know would be happy to do it in theory.
Right.
I find that people really get behind projects that they find that are important. And I think this project is really important, and that a lot of other people, especially artisans who work in the industry that we've worked with in the past, would also find this something that they want to be a part of. Not every project has millions of dollars, and we all know this. But sometimes we take on the projects that we are passionate about because they need to be seen. Those stories need to be told, and I think this project is going to capture the participation and support of a lot of people, even with the minuscule budget that we have. So I'm not worried about it, Philip.
I think it's honestly one of those projects where art is actually the goal and not the commerce. It's about the art, and it's about putting something on the map and having a discussion that we rarely have about the Harlem Renaissance. Is one of very popular period in time people are still fascinated about. So, so this will be a road less traveled. We hardly ever hear about the LGBTQ part of the Harlem Renaissance. So
okay, so what's your own talk about your own stake in the project? What's your personal stake? What drew you to the project?
So many thoughts come to mind. I think one of the major ones is, like I said before, is that a lot of people, when you think about LGBT rights and causes moving forward, or the needle moving, you often think of Stonewall. And I think that was a very important part of the history and the legacy of LGBT people in America. But I also think that there are these little explosions that were happening all over the country that often get neglected. This is one of them. And they predate Stonewall. And I think
by a lot.
Yeah. Had there been no Harlem Renaissance, we might not have had a Stonewall. So I think it's important to tell the entire history. Also to let people know that LGBTQ people are not brand new people. You've been here forever. If you keep digging, you will continue to find these movements in these parts,
Presence.
this present spaces in history where we were moving the needle slowly but surely. For whatever reason, these stories get neglected and overlooked. And I just think my stake in it is just to emphasize that this is a movement that's been moving for quite a long time. And it's not brand new. We've been steadily etching away at this forever. And then also just kind of to highlight the people of color contribution to the entire movement.
You know, I've been saying that you're the only out gay Black couple in Hollywood. Is that true, or is just the only one I know of?
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
It's not true. We're probably the only two that are a directing couple.
Right.
Directing producer couple.
They're probably the most visible because of our show and because of being married on the Grammys.
Okay, so there's a question by Jazz Smithfield. Says, okay. Seriously, what was it like being married on TV? That's one of the questions.
Oh, it was pretty surreal. We went into it scared shitless, to be honest. We had no idea. We were planning to do this, maybe not as soon as when this opportunity happened. Basically, the show called us, was very vague. They, it was a casting company. They didn't know. Wouldn't tell us exactly what it was. They just told us the friend who recommended us. Thank you, Kassan. Shameless plug. Kassan is the lead in the new, I think, Logo series about Fire Island. Don't quote me on it, but he's the one that recommended us to the casting director. So when they called, they were really vague and strange. It felt like Quincy and I also work in reality television. That's our day jobs. We've done, America's Best Dance Crew, Cocktails with Chloe, numerous competition shows. So we know how that structure works. So when we got the call, do you guys want to get married on national television at a very big event that will probably screen to multi-million audience, numbered audience? We're like, okay, well, why? And what is it for? So long story short, we found out what it was. We agreed to do it, but we were still scared once we got there. It was like, this is our wedding day. This could go completely awry. We could walk out there, we could get booed, we could get hissed at, We assume that the music industry is pretty progressive, but you don't know what's going to happen. And when we're out there doing the rehearsal and we're seeing who we're going to be standing next to, and we're like, a lot of hip hop artists were like right on our aisle. And we're like, oh my gosh, if I look next to, if I'm going to be walking by Ludacris as a gay couple getting, what will Ludacris say? What will will I get the nasty stare? And I can say it was completely the opposite experience. We walked down that aisle and did it. All those people that I was worried about were applauding us and crying and shaking our hands and shaking our shoulders. And Quincy has a great story about Sir Elton John. Katy Perry and her producer are the ones who gave us our because the cameras, the stuff that you saw on TV didn't catch our moment all the time. So they actually did it with their cell phone, and that's how we have the footage
they have us
of our
exchanging our vows. Katy Perry recorded it, and they sent it to us. So that was awesome. And Sir Elton John, I like to say he knighted me. He was standing behind Deondray, so I was looking past Deondray because I didn't want to burst into the ugly cry, which you guys probably saw that I did. But I was trying not to look him in the face because he had began to break, and I was trying to hold it. And I looked past him, and I met eyes with Elton John, and Elton John was crying, and he did this. He did this. He grabbed his heart, and he nodded. He bowed to me, and that's when I broke. That's the picture that you guys saw that was plastered all over the media, was me having that breaking moment thanks to Elton John. So It was great. It was surreal. Definitely was surreal. You know, something that I would have never imagined. But
You can ask that question yourself.
The funny thing is, I had made a joke maybe a few years prior. We took this photograph while we were hiking up at this waterfall, and then when I posted the picture, I put these funny captions over what we were thinking. And my caption was, "I wonder if I could get Beyonce to perform at our wedding." And then his caption was, "Well, who's going to pay for that?" So it's hilarious that 2 years later, after I posted that picture, Beyonce opened the Grammys that night. so I can somewhat say, you know, Beyonce performed at my wedding. So
wow,
it happened. It happened.
Okay, so I have a question from one of our other backers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it on screen there?
Yes. Yes. Oh, cool.
You want to answer that?
Yes. Yes, it will. It's minimal, but yeah, we're gonna do it because again, it's not just a music video. Again, we want to transport you. We want to take you on a time machine and take you back in time. We want to hear the lingo. We want to get the vibe of how they communicated. We want to get a very tangible feel for what it was like at the time. So yes, there is dialogue, and then it's gonna, you know, like the gay guys, we are gonna spectacular musical ending.
Jesse. But I love what you did. You know, the way that you wrote it and the idea of actually having, you know, because most documentaries are done with just historic footage, narration, photographs, but you wanted to bring this scripted moment, this reenactment, so to speak, which you only see on crime shows, but more of a more cinematic reenactment that will be these parts of the documentary, which I think
will take you into the world.
Really, really great.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely. He wrote this wonderful scene that he adapted from the story, and that's what you guys will see.
Right. But of course, no producer, director, cinematographer, nobody works alone. So I want to take this opportunity to bring in my co-producer, Robert Elcott, for a minute. You can click the link.
Can I click the link and it's
yeah. So he's either going to come on his own. While he's doing that, though, I want to urge people to pledge.
Yeah.
As I was saying before, we've just got 2,000. We're very close to the goal. We've got 2,000 to raise within the next 3 days. I know we're going to do it, and we have a $500 matching grant. So anybody who pledges now will see their money double. Also, it's tax deductible because Shoga Films, which is my production company, is a nonprofit 501c3. So, you know, participate in the conversation by all means. Check out the perks. But if the spirit moves you, please pledge. You know, the other thing I could do is I could just have Robert.
I don't have any.
Okay, right. So I'm going to bring Robert to the screen now because he's got a question. He's going to introduce himself, and he's got a question that he wants to ask you guys directly. Can I have the headphones, please?
Which question?
The one that you asked earlier.
Oh,
if you haven't changed anything yet. Okay. Sorry. While he's doing that, I want to show you the card. I want to plug that into the postcard that you can get from Daryl Stevens for the $75 pledge. And this is going to be the poster for the movie as well, at least the beginning of it, done by a very talented, graphic designer, and based on a wonderful Mexican artist who was part of the Harlem, who was making caricature drawings of the Harlem Renaissance, a guy by the name of Covarrubias. So there'll be more about that a little later let me put Robert Elcock on.
Hear anyone?
Yeah, here. This is what it's called here.
Hey, Robert.
Hey,
Go
nice
ahead.
to see you guys in the flesh. Well, cyber flesh. So my question was.
Wait a second.
One moment. What's the temperature in Atlanta?
LA.
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 Yeah.
Okay, you're good. Go.
80.
80. Whew.
Introduce yourself, Robert,
Okay.
and then ask your question.
So my name is Robert Elcock. I am the co-producer. I've been working behind the scenes. Me and Robert, we've been working for a couple of years together on a lot of different projects. So this is by far very exciting, most exciting to see the momentum and the growth and to be connected with people like you guys. Like, this is very exciting. My question for you was, if you had to change one thing about how gays, lesbians, queers are represented in our media, what would you change?
What will we change?
I think, I would say this really quick. Well, you want to go first?
You go first.
I think we've come a long way than when it was when we started. I'm actually not as disgruntled with the images that I see lately. I mean lately as in the last 2-3 years. I think they're more layers. They're not for the sake of diversity, for the diversity's sake, with no real character growth or arc. They're not just plucked out of the ethosphere and put in there like, oh, we have a gay character on NBC now. I think the characters have drive. They have vision. They have story. They have something that they want. They have struggle. They're alive. That's lately. And
thanks to you.
Well, I mean, I'll take a little bit of credit. I think that's where society was moving. Anyway, I think we were the thing that probably one of the first things that probably gave people the idea that, yeah, these characters can be told in a way that's not compartmentalized or marginalized,
one-dimensional.
Yeah, so I think that gave people, it kind of broadened the scope of what a gay character could be in media. But I'm not gonna take it. That's a little bit of credit.
He's modest. I will bring up one of my favorite gay characters of this past year was the father on This Is Us. Because it was such a shock and a surprise to learn that this character was gay in the first place. But you got to know the man, you got to know his story, you got to know so much about, that show really painted this wonderful person, this really, really multifaceted, complicated man, artist, musician, father, former drug addict. I mean, he had this wonderful, wonderful story and this wonderful story arc, and it would lead you to believe that we were watching this story of this straight man, and then suddenly you find out that his guy that he went through rehab with was his longtime lover, and that in fact this father was a gay father. So this son who never knew his biological dad, who just found him and is getting to know his father for the first time in his life, then learns that his father is also gay. But it was dealt with so beautifully. And I just adored it. I really, really adored that storyline, that character. So yeah, I think we are definitely in a much, much better place. So I it's not a lot that I don't, when you ask that question, if it had been 10 years ago, I would have had an immediate reaction or response. But I really did have to think, what is there that I want to change? Because I feel like there's so many stories and representations. So it's the same thing with African American stories. we have a lot of great representation at this moment in history, and hopefully it will only grow. You know, I can go and watch Queen Sugar. I can go and watch, you know, I mean, Empire's crazy, but it's fun. You know, I can go from Queen Sugar to Empire to Oprah Winfrey, Christian Greenleaf to, you know,
Sense8.
to Sense8, to the characters of Sense8, to Issa Rae, to Dear White People. I mean, that is amazing. And there are also gay characters across television and film that are just so diverse and coming from so many different backgrounds that I just want to be out there making some more. That's it.
Hey, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
I'm not trying to change it. I'm trying to just add more to it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer too. I think one reason why I do give you guys credit is because when you did come out with the DL Chronicles or the Chadwick Journals, and people saw that there's a demand for that kind of content, that kind of that paves the way for more content to come out.
Absolutely.
You know, so by us taking matters into our own hands, having a Kickstarter campaign, making our own representation, we can be that change and have the content that we desire to see.
All the way to the Oscars, Movie of the Year. All right, Terrell McCreary.
Yes. High five.
You know, it's just stuff that I never thought I'd probably see in my lifetime. Where I was when we made this show in 2005, I thought that would never happen. I thought we would chisel away at it, but to see that happen, it was incredible.
That was incredible.
What do you think of Moonlight?
I loved it.
I love Moonlight.
I loved it. I'm sorry. I just thought it was like a poem on film. From the story to the actors, the take on casting 3 different actors in the 3 different periods, even though, you know, there was something in the eyes and in the soul of each one of those actors that connected you to the next without, I mean, come on. All 3 of them didn't look alike, of course. But
I thought that was just me.
Yeah, no, they didn't. They didn't look like,
but they had the essence.
Soul felt the same.
The essence was the same.
They didn't have to look.
Like creatively, what Barry did with that was really, really incredible. And Terrell, you know, we're fans of Terrell. We've known Terrell for some years now, so we were really happy to see something that he wrote come to the big screen, because they've been trying to get his plays adapted for films for a minute now. So to see one of his stories and then it win
Best Picture was like so great. And first of all, let me tell you, Andre Holland, when you guys talk about the Harlem Renaissance, the actor Andre Holland, I'm such a huge fan of his because he was on The Nick on Cinemax. The Nick is one of my visual inspirations. When you guys came to us with this piece, then I love the way The Nick was shot. I love the actors. Andre Holland is a vision in that show, and it also brought to mind another one of my favorite shows, which was Boardwalk Empire. The costuming, and there was a jazz singer, a mulatto jazz singer girl who was just incredible in that film. So a lot about this project. I think I'm inspired by those 2 shows. And I know that was just a roundabout, because I thought about Andre and it kind of bridged me back over to some of our visual inspiration. Definitely watching those 2 films, I felt like I was watching real footage. I mean, those 2 shows felt like I was watching real footage taken from the period, and the actors were just, the lighting, the costuming, just, you know, and I know we only got 10,000 unless you guys give more.
Thank you.
Unless we get more.
Yes. But, you know,
Look it up.
we're going to squeeze every last penny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandmother said you can't make blood out of turnips, but we sure going to try.
Yes. It was funny that you bring this up. I was going to start to talk about, I guess, the impact of knowing your LGBT history and how that impacts your voice and how that impacts you as a filmmaker, knowing that not too long ago, this is considered criminal.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And in some places on this planet, it's still considered criminal. So in which ways, or I guess which events or characters, I guess historical figures, speak to you when you, as a filmmaker, as an individual?
In terms of LGBT history.
Well,
I think I said LGBT history.
Mm-hmm.
Which figures, which characters? Well, I would say for me, and it's not necessarily because he is an LGBTQ. He's not. It's not. It wasn't because he was a figure. Just growing up, I'm like I said, I'm an artist. I write. I used to be a part of the poetry scene back in Chicago. So I was a spoken word artist for years, and I wrote. I performed with Nikki Giovanni, Gwendolyn Baraka. So I was kind of one of those young artists, and I was a part of a arts community that had like this great history. And my nickname was Langston Q. So of course, Langston Hughes was kind of like one of my inspirations and one of my heroes. And then as far as the queer part of it, it was just also, I grew up just thinking that Langston Hughes was so damn handsome. So I had the biggest like crush on who Langston Hughes was, growing up. And then I kind of modeled myself as this kind of Langston Hughes writer. And then I have a best friend, and it's funny because we kind of ran in like this circle, and we almost were kind of like the Harlem, like the Chicago Harlem Renaissance of these writers. And
I bet that was sharp.
Yeah, we were more, I would say 1990s version of the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah, I'm from Detroit, so I know how Chi-Town step out. Yeah.
But the cool thing that happened of late was I discovered that I actually am the fourth cousin to Langston Hughes. So I had a crush on my relative.
Oh. I think we got your next movie.
So I got into like ancestry, and then I was doing my dad's family research and found out that through my paternal side, Langston Hughes was my great-great-grandmother's third cousin. So that was a great, cool coincidence, which also is something that I feel like is kismet with this project. Even though he's not as a character in this project, I feel somehow a part of this world, of this period. I don't know, it's weird. I feel like I was born in the wrong time.
It's hard for me because I was closeted for so long that I didn't really seek out gay history. I didn't even know to seek it out. I didn't know that it existed. So I kind of, the people that were in my immediate circle, and this is a shout out to my godmamafist, I would call him Billy, who was at the time when I was growing up was a openly pre-operative transgender woman who was my godmother, one of my mother's best friends. And so she was one of the first people. It's hard because Billy right now, she's back he. That's a long story. So I'm used to calling her she for my whole life. So I apologize, Billy. But he was the first person to tell my mother, I think, Deondray might be gay. he was the first person to tell her that. So, but my closest connection to the gay community was my godmother, my godmamafist. That was my closest connection. And so what I kind of latched in ways that he didn't even know I was latching on to him because I had no real guidance or figure or anybody who was living it and okay. And he was that for me. So,
and I just want to add to his, because he's not saying it. Billy was a gay icon.
Well, I was getting to that. Yeah.
So if you remember television, film, he was one of the most recognized Black gay images
of the 80s.
In the 80s.
So he actually appeared in Coming Back to America.
Coming to America. Same thing.
A lot of people don't know that was actually a transgender person. They think it was just a big black woman, but it was actually my godmama Fitz Billy. When he first arrives, I forget her line. I want to say, I don't think she said this, but I feel like she did. Was the person that said the royal penis is clean.
No, that was...
or the king has arrived. It's one of those. It's one of those big spectacle moments where if there's a big processional and he arrives, but it's happening in Africa. That's the person that says the line, announce him to the room. That's her, him. So that was my influence and inspiration when I was a kid. I didn't really know to look back on gay and lesbian history until an adult, after I'm already out and already, gone through the whole acceptance thing. So, but that's my hero.
But it's good that you're latching onto your personal history, because we're discovering that a lot of our history was straight washed. Like we have a lot more LGBT history than we know of.
Right.
So it's cool that you have like someone that in your personal life that you can hold on to and to find influential like that.
Yep. So
that's so.
Google Billy Gordon. That's LLI, no E. Billy Gordon. And
Billy Gordon. Yeah. I'm gonna do that right now, and I'm gonna put Robert back on.
You know who
It's been a pleasure. This is so much fun. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Right. I need my glasses.
Oops.
Hi guys, thank you, Robert. I have something to say about Langston Hughes and the project, but before we do that, I want to encourage people who are viewing to go on social media and tell them this is a really interesting and rare conversation that's going on. Pledging now doubles your pledge, and you can see that we're very excited about doing this. We actually have some dates in July that will be filming, and the campaign comes to an end on Friday. So we really need your support. We're going to make this happen, and we're really close to making it happen. So if any of this is connecting with you on any level whatsoever, please make a pledge. As I said before, it's tax deductible. Your money is doubled, and you're going to get, if you pledge $35, you're going to get a download of what we produce. And as you see, it's going to be something really special, including MP3s of songs that were, videos that I made. No, sorry. MP3s of songs that were music videos that I made from the 1920s with LGBT content. Having said that, I also encourage you to continue asking questions and to participate in the conversation. So about Langston Hughes, you were saying that you were infatuated with Langston Hughes. Well, you were not alone. When he was a young man, everybody was infatuated with Langston Hughes. He was a beautiful young man, widely considered now to be gay, although his family vehemently denies the surviving family that holds the estate and the rights of the estate vehemently denies it. But he's definitely claimed by the Black LGBT community. He definitely used what I will generously describe as an ambiguous sexuality to advance his career. He didn't mind having people fall in love with him. He never put out, but County Cullen, who was another young Black gay poet of the period, fell in love with him, and they were close for a while, but there was a mysterious break. Nobody ever understood. Neither one of them talked about what happened, but my guess is that County Cullen tried to move it in a direction that Langston was uncomfortable with or didn't want to go. And there was a rejection that went on there. And Elaine Locke, who was an older Black professor of philosophy at Howard University and became one of the principal publicists of the Harlem Renaissance, published a very influential anthology called, help me here if you can, because it's slipping from my mind. I know it was done for a magazine called Survey Graphic. The New Negro, sorry. It was an anthology called The New Negro. He fell in, he became infatuated with Langston Hughes. Carl Van Vechten, who was a white patron and big promoter of the Harlem Renaissance, actually introduced Langston Hughes to his first publisher, and was instrumental, wrote the introduction for his first book of poems, The Weary Blues. So he was gay, also infatuated with Langston Hughes, as were many women involved with the Harlem Renaissance. So get in line, Quincy. There's a long line.
Well, they're cousins, so he's ineligible now.
Right. Robert just said they're cousins.
I'll loan them out for the right price.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. I want to go back to one of the other questions. That was
Sorry.
You can see it on the screen there.
For our directing work, when I tell the truth about who influences me, people go, really? But I am serious, and this is honest, and it's, people probably be surprised because it's not a person of color, but honestly, my biggest influence, the whole reason I got the bug when I was a kid watching films, was Steven Spielberg. He was just somebody for me that was, I grew up really poor, and it was a really rough time, and those movies for me are those things that help me escape. And I thought, I want to be able to do that, what he's doing. I want to be able to create things that transcends people, that their lives can be whatever they are, and they walk into a theater, and for those 2 hours they're somewhere else, and they're okay, and they're happy, or living the experience, or vicariously through someone else. And I thought at the time, one of those bugs that one of the things that got under my skin was his work. A lot of people consider Steven Spielberg a very fluffy, Hollywood director, but I think he had the ability to, appeal to people in a massive, universal way that I think not many directors can claim. So call him what you want to. He moved people, and he moved people in mass, and that's something that I aspire to do. I'm always trying to catch that, that universal message in all my work. That it may not appeal to everybody, but I want it to appeal to a lot of people. I don't want my art to be private. You know what I mean? I want it to be universally not universally appeal, but in mass. I want people to be moved.
You want it to be accessible.
Yes, that's it. I want it to be accessible. And so, that's one of my major influences. A lot of people are surprised to hear that, but that is my man. That's my guy.
Yeah. Well, I actually think there's a function here, and I don't know how much documentary work you've been involved with in the past, but one of the things I've learned as a documentary filmmaker is that it really has the power to enroll people and move them towards a specific point of view and on the political or sociological landscape. Of course, narratives can do that too by appealing to our emotions. But the thing that documentaries do is they inform and educate, as well as, for me, the ideal documentary always is informative and educational, but also should move people. And I'm hoping that, that the larger project that Congo Cabaret is eventually going to be woven into will be that kind of documentary, that it's going to not only teach people about the richness and diversity of Black life in the 1920s. Of course, everybody knows about the Harlem Renaissance. They don't know about the LGBTQ side of it, though. Mm-hmm. That's what we're really going to bring to light. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it in a way that will touch their emotions, and we'll do that through art, which was what the Harlem Renaissance was about. Mm-hmm. Music, dance, poetry, literature. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. It's one of the fastest way to the human psyche and emotion. The quickest way to get your point across is through media. And that's what attracted me about this project. I knew it was something because that it was going to be meaningful, because it's something I've always been doing. And it's surprising to me that it hasn't really been done yet, you know. So I knew when you sent me that document, I was like, yes, finally somebody's going to do this.
Great. That's great. That's great. So once again, I encourage our viewers to help us, help us realize our vision. We are going to make it happen. You can make it happen faster if you hit the pledge button. Mm-hmm. And as I said before, we have a $500 grant. You don't have to pledge during this event. We're going to apply it to any pledges that come in until the $500 is used up. Mm-hmm. The $500 that we get from matching grants, plus that, is 1,000. We're already at 8,000. That'll put us at 9,000. That leaves just 1,000 left for over the next 3 days. So I know we're going to do it, but we definitely need your help. So please. Also, I should let the viewers know that this event is being recorded and it will be on the Kickstarter webpage for the next couple of days. So this isn't, it's not going to disappear immediately. So if you like what you see and you find it interesting, please send the link to your friends so that they can watch it as well. I do want to ask a few more questions before we wrap it up. We have a question from Marvin McDay, which was, what artists of the Harlem Renaissance or during the 1920s and 30s impress you the most?
Yeah, I think that was probably what, like I said, was Langston Hughes. However, of late, I think Marvin also mentioned something about James Baldwin. James Baldwin,
that's correct,
currently is my current hero. I don't know if you saw the documentary I Am Not Your Negro, mm-hmm. but that documentary, Marvin, if you have not seen it, please check it out. It is life-changing. James Baldwin he's a force. He's a force, and I wish that I could be. He's someone whose intelligence and just ability to just speak the truth in such succinct and powerful ways that I wish I had that. Like, I aspire to have that ability. I aspire.
Don't we all?
Yes, to be able to sit down. You know, the man will sit down with his cigarette and he'd smoke and he'd look like he doesn't have a care in the world, and he just spits some knowledge that's so, like, slaps you upside the head without even blinking or batting an eye. Just the figure of James Baldwin and who he was as a man is so impressive to me. And just as a person who was a person who was fighting for social justice and equality, and just kind of seeing this country for what it is without ever sugarcoating. The man did not sugarcoat. And I've watched some documentary pieces on, I think it was on YouTube, where, he had a conversation with Malcolm X, and it was like the debate between James Baldwin and Malcolm X. check those out on YouTube. They're incredible. Definitely, we know for sure that James Baldwin is an extremely important voice of the Harlem Renaissance. I think for this piece, we're more focusing on the musical aspect.
And also an earlier time period. I have
a
to
little
say.
bit early, because he was
he was active in the late 40s, 50s, and before.
Yeah, he was.
I mean,
younger than I know he was like a child when Langston Hughes and everyone was.
Yeah, or not even born yet.
Yeah.
There was a connection, though.
Yes.
He went to high school in Harlem, and his high school French teacher was Countee Cullen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good historical piece of information right there. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all. Yeah. So.
Yeah, one of the many tidbits that you pick up when you're a former college professor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You are a professor, and this period has been one of your focuses for how long now?
Wow. Well, what got me into this subject matter was one of the last courses I taught at the university level was on the Harlem Renaissance. And while I was doing my research, I kept running into these tidbits about how this person was gay and that person was bisexual and this person may have been lesbian. There's a writer by the name of Nella Larson who's been rediscovered by the feminists through a novel called Passing and another one called Quicksand. Remarkable Bibles of the period. And it's, scholarship has brought out that she probably was a lesbian and are given lesbian readings to her novels now that make a lot of sense. Specific scholarship has pointed out how many people who were central or secondary characters in the Harlem Renaissance were gay or lesbian. But nobody's brought it together. Even to this day, nobody has brought it all together. Mm. And I thought, this is perfect for a documentary because, it's about art, it's about music, it's about dance, it's about style. And this stuff is, what can be brought forth through the power of film. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I do have, I've accumulated a pretty vast treasure trove of trivia, but hopefully I've woven a lot of it into this script in ways that are interesting.
Have you actually traveled to Harlem and gone to any of the historical sites that may still be around? I'm sure there's not a lot that's still around.
Yeah, many times. I've done a lot of research in Harlem. I love doing research. There's a very famous branch of the New York Public Library called the Schomburg Center for it's a research branch in Harlem on Lenox Avenue, around Lenox and 135th Street. I've been there many times. I've done walking tours of Harlem. Some of the wonderful brownstones of Harlem are still in existence. Of course, Harlem's undergoing gentrification, but the housing stock itself has maintained very well and is beautiful. There's an famous set of streets called Stryver's Row, which is where the upper middle class blacks moved to when Harlem became all black in the early part of the 20th century. And that still looks very much like it did in the 1920s. The nightclubs, of course, were more ephemeral, sort of came and went. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, the Apollo Theater was still there. But, during the time of the Harlem Renaissance, 125th Street wasn't black. It was 135th Street. 125th Street was still white. And the Apollo Theater became the Apollo Theater later during the 30s and 40s when Harlem stretched down to 110th Street. But yeah, there's still a lot of that. There's still a lot of the historical housing stock, if you will.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, we've been doing this for an hour and a half, which is like the length of a feature-length film. So let me wrap this up.
Okay.
I just want to make one final pitch to our audience. Thanks for participating. Once again, we do have this matching pledge grant. It's going to continue to be in effect until it's used up. So pledge. If you're already a backer, you can pledge more. That'll be matched, and you can choose higher levels of perks. There is a button on the screen that will take you to the project, so you can check the project out and see what the pledges are. It has been, and I'm going to invite Deondray and Quincy to make closing remarks, but I want to say what a pleasure it's been to have them on board. They came on board very recently, less than 2 weeks ago. I approached them out of the blue. I had no idea that we would be such a good fit, and I'm really excited about how our visions are meshing, and also really grateful that I don't have to direct this because they're excited about it. I know how to direct documentaries. I know how to put them together. But I recognize that the passion for directing is special. It's a gift, and it is a hell of a lot of hard work. So thank you to your guys. And I invite you to make closing comments yourself.
Thank you.
No, thank you for having us. I mean, I
you
fell
go?
off camera.
Where'd you go?
Look how excited I get. No, thank you for having us, Robert. You tapped into something that like I said, something that I thought should have been done a long time ago. So it was a no-brainer when I got it. And I feel like it's serendipitous that this is happening. So very excited. Can't wait to bring this to the people. I think we're in good hands with you. I think this is something that's, again, overdue. It's going to be great. It's finally going to put us in the forefront of the Harlem Renaissance in a way that I don't think has really been done. I mean, it's always been in the atmosphere, but it's never been landed on in this way.
Yeah. I think this is the time.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to reiterate and implore that we need your support. This is an independent project. We are not backed by a studio. And every red cent that we gain counts. Every red cent will go into the screen.
No donation is too small.
Exactly.
Amen. And I had tax deductible.
Yes, tax deductible, which is awesome, which is really awesome. But definitely we need your support. I mean, it's work like this that if you want to see it, you have to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak.
Exactly.
So definitely, independent artists, we need the assistance and we need the support of
our viewers,
the
community,
because in this atmosphere, especially with arts programs and funding being cut and the national endowment being challenged and threatened. We only have resources like Kickstarter and places like this that we can appeal to our audiences to keep these stories alive and make them happen. So please donate. You said
yes.
So Friday. Yeah.
Friday, close the business, 5 o'clock, yeah. Campaign comes to an end.
Paycheck on Friday.
There you go. There you go. Before we sign off, I want to call you guys because I have something to discuss with you. So I'm going to call you about 5 minutes after we sign off. I just wanted to let you know while we were still in communication. Okay.
Okay. Great.
All right. Thank you everybody for participating. Viewers, we're going to be up for another 2 days. The matching funds are still there. Please tell other people about it. Forward the link, and if you become a backer, you can do it for as little as $10. You will be updated as to our progress, what happens with the filming, the editing. We're going to move fast in this thing. We're going to have something. We're going to have something by the fall because we're filming in July.
Yes.
So, thanks again.
Thanks,
you
Kendall.
guys.
Bye all.
Bye bye.